We're using the foldable. This is for 4.5. We have a foldable for parallel and perpendicular lines. First equation. Write the equation of a line that goes through the points. First thing that we need to do is find the slope. So we have m equals, here's our y values, -5 and 4. So -5 minus 4 divided by 8 minus a -4. 8 minus a -4. Double negatives become positive and we get 12. And then we're still going to simplify that slope. I can divide 3 from both of these. We get -3/4. So we have our slope is -3/4. And now I'm going to write an equation. I'm going to use the point -4, 4. And I am going to use the point slope formula. Okay, we have y minus 4 equals my slope times x minus, x1 is also negative, -4. Clean up those double negatives and then I'll be done. It just says write an equation. It doesn't tell me which equation to write, so I'm going to leave it in point slope. Our final equation then is y minus 4 equals -3/4 times x plus 4. There's an equation of a line. Moving over to the left, parallel lines never, what do they never do? Parallel lines, what does it mean to be parallel? Parallel lines never blank and have the same blank. Parallel lines never intersect and have the same slope. Write the equation of the line that is parallel to line and goes through the point 4, 1. So parallel to the first line that we created. And it needs to go through this point. Now the second line that we're trying to create, here's the first line that we just wrote an equation of. I just plotted the point -4, 4, and then I used the slope to go down 3 and over 4. So there's the first line. They're asking for a second line that's parallel to this. So we're looking for another line somewhere that's parallel. And it told us specifically where it wants that line to be parallel. It's going through the point 4, 1. So here's the point 4, 1. And we're looking for an equation of a line that goes through that point. And it's going to be parallel to this. So here's the second line that we're looking for. It's going through the point 4, 1, and it's parallel to the first line. We are trying to find the equation of this line. We know that it has to be parallel to the first line. That would mean that they have the same slope. So if we know that the slope of the first line was -3/4, what is the parallel slope then? If the slope of the first equation was -3/4, what's the parallel slope? It's going to be the same. And we're using the point 4, 1. I have a point, I have a slope. Can you guess which equation I'm going to use? So we have y minus y1, which is 1, equals my parallel slope of -3/4 times x minus x1. Write an equation of the line that's parallel to the first line that goes to the point. Does it tell us which form to have it in? It does not, and so I'm going to leave my final answer in point slope form. Perpendicular lines blank and have slopes that are blank. Here is the equation of my first line, and I'm looking for a line that is perpendicular. Perpendicular lines what? If I extend this, we know it's perpendicular, it has a right angle. Perpendicular lines intersect. And have slopes that are, well, if this was my first slope and it was negative and it was going down, what kind of slope does the perpendicular line have? If this has a negative slope, it has a positive slope. So the slopes are going to have to change. If it's positive, it becomes negative. If it's negative, it becomes positive. So we know that there's a negative involved to make that change. What else? Here was my line and it did this. It flipped. So that means that your slope will also flip. What do we call this then? This would be the negative reciprocal. Write an equation of the line that is perpendicular to the first equation and goes through the point 3, -6. We're going. It's going through the point 3, -6, and it is perpendicular to the first. We have our original slope, which was -3/4. And now we're looking for the perpendicular slope. That's how you would notate your perpendicular slope. What do I have to do? I need the negative reciprocal. So I need to change the sign and flip it. So that means it becomes positive, and then I flip it. 4/3. Change the sign and flip it to get the reciprocal. And we're using the point 3, -6. Point and a slope. Y minus y1 is -6 equals my perpendicular slope of 4/3 times x minus x1 is 3. Cleaning up those double negatives, I can't leave point slope with double negatives, so that's y plus 6 equals 4/3 times x minus 3. Again, it's not asking for a specific form, so I'm going to leave it in point slope form. All right, I taped this into my notebook and I taped the top corners so that it could still fold and the bottom as well. Example 1, write an equation of a line that passes through 3, -5 and is parallel to the line y equals 3x minus 1. If I had a point and I had a slope, I would be good to go. All right, what is the slope of this line? Where do I find the slope? It's in front of the x. Can I see it in this form? Y equals 3x minus 1. That would be y equals mx plus b. Yes, I can see the slope when it's in this form. My slope is 3. And I'm looking for a line that is parallel. Write an equation of a line. Doesn't tell me what form to have it in. It just says write an equation of a line that is parallel. So what is the parallel slope then? It would be the same. There's my parallel slope, and I have the point 3, -5. I have a point, I have a slope. You know it. Y minus -5 equals my parallel slope of 3, and then x minus 3. Clean up those double negatives. Done. Determine which lines, if any, are parallel or perpendicular. Can I see the slope of this line? Yes, I can. I see that my slope is 5. Can I see the slope of line B? Which form is this in? X plus 5y equals 2. This is in standard form, and I cannot see the slope in standard form, so I'm going to need to put it into slope-intercept form. I'm going to put the x on the right-hand side, so I'm going to subtract x. We have 5y equals, I'm going to put my x first, negative x, and a positive 2. So my slope is negative 1. No, I need to make sure that y is by itself. So I'm going to divide all three terms by 5. We get y equals, remember that there is a 1 in front of this x, so that would be negative 1/5 x plus 2/5. What is the slope of this line? Negative 1/5. Line C is also not really in standard form because it has a negative a value, but we still need to get y by itself. We are going to put 2x on the other side. So we have negative 10y equals positive 2x. I'd be adding 2x to this side, 2x to the right-hand side, and then I finish by divide both sides by negative 10. Negative 10 divided by negative 10 is a positive 1y equals, we have 2 over negative 10. That's negative 2/10, and I'm going to reduce 2/10. Divide both terms by 2, and we get negative 1/5 x. What is the slope of this line? Here's my x. The slope is always in front of x, so our slope is negative 1/5. Have I answered the question? It says determine which lines, if any, are parallel or perpendicular. Do we have any parallel lines? Do we have any lines that have the same slope? That would be line B and line C. How about perpendicular? We're looking for the negative reciprocal. What would be the negative reciprocal of negative 1/5? I would flip it and then change the sign. So we see that 5 and negative 1/5 are perpendicular. So we say that A is perpendicular to B. A is perpendicular to B. And we also see that A is perpendicular to C. A is perpendicular to C. Example 3, compare the slopes of the line. We have f of x and g of x. All right, we need to compare them. Well, they're not parallel, but we need some evidence. We can't just look at it and say, well, I think that it's. So let's pick some points on the line, and then we will look at their slopes. So here I see the corner of a box. That's going to be 3, 2. And I'm going to use the origin, nice 0, 0. So line G of x has 0, 0 and 3, 2. F of x would also have 0, 0. And we see here's a good point in the corner of the box. That's negative 2, positive 3. Now all we need to do is find the slopes and compare them. So I could use the slope formula, which is where I was headed, but is there a shorter way to do this? How about if we rise and run? I'm going to rise and run between these 2 points. So rise 2 and run 1, 2, 3. So for g of x, I'm rising 2 and running 3. Rise 2, run 3. We have 2/3. We know they're not parallel. If they're going to be perpendicular, what do I expect the slope to be? I'd have to flip it and change the sign of it. So we're looking for -3/2. Let's look between these 2 points for f of x. I'm going to come over here, so I'm not on my triangle, and I'm going to go down and then over. So we're going down 1, 2, 3, rise -3, and run in the positive direction 2. So rise -3 and run +2. Now that we have our evidence for our slope, we can compare them. We would say that g of x is perpendicular to f of x. Final answer. There's my evidence. I'm not just guessing. I've shown work of how I got my answer. Last example. Example 4. Write an equation of a line that passes through 4, -5 and is perpendicular to this line, y equals 2x plus 3. All right, so we're looking at slope first. What is the slope of this line? We have a slope of 2. What is the perpendicular slope to that line? I have to flip it and change the sign. So change the sign, it becomes negative, and then I flip it. And we're using the point 4, -5. So y minus -5 equals my perpendicular slope of -1/2 times x minus x1, which is 4. Write an equation of a line. Okay, they will tell me what kind, so I can leave it in point slope, but I need to clean up those double negatives. Y plus 5 equals -1/2 times x minus 4. Final answer.